right.
Are you recording?
Shall I do the intro? Yes, we're already
please do.
recording.
Please do.
Okay.
Let me just record. Let me hit record on this so it's going.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
And where's your microphone?
Here.
Ah, okay. And you have one as well.
Yeah,
oh, great.
just in case we need to. Yeah. And you can buy multiple microphones like this. So if you so you literally just that's it. You can walk over there and still pick it up. You know, you can be in your bivvy.
Well, you catch a fish.
Catch a fish.
Go right up.
Yeah.
So you'll see me quite often looking at here. I'm just making sure the battery is not run out.
Okay. So we have something special today. I will make a little intro. But we're a very small podcast. You're a very big podcast, I think. Yeah. And well, our listeners are used to bad quality. So it's good you have your own gear with you. Well, it's a collab, I think, between. I'm very honored because I gain a lot, but I don't think you gain a lot by doing this collab with our very small podcast.
That's
First
fantastic.
and foremost, I have a present for you, which you I think will like. I thought I had the perfect present, but there's lacking 2 maps, but these are all the maps of the public waters in Belgium.
Oh, yes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you can have them.
Oh,
the ones who are missing, there's 2 missing because there's around my neighborhood and I've put them somewhere. I've searched and searched.
You don't want us to fish the neighborhood.
I knew you don't. But I've made
you
it
took the best ones out, haven't you?
But you can have it. Take a look at it.
Oh,
it's really great.
Thomas, that's very kind.
Is there little gold stars on all the
if you
places?
put pen marks
on there. Yeah.
There's parking spots on it, and there's all the different fish you can fish for. I've also noted on it. And they used to send it, but now you have to download it and print it. And
that's very kind.
Much worse now.
Yes, and as I say, you give us a nice introduction, but it's a pleasure to be here. You know, it's a great excuse to come fishing in Belgium, and to be with you guys. It feels very privileged for you guys to invite us on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my introduction was very lousy. Yes. Okay. I think the structure, I would like to ask some questions for you as guests on our podcast, and then you have a particularly interest in the VBK.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, so we have Alijn Danau with us, who knows everything about the VBK.
Yes.
So we do it in 2 parts. I'll pose you some questions. We also have a game with the dice and some hard questions. So when the number corresponds with the question, you have this question.
Yeah. No, go for it. Sounds great.
It's about your mother and all those things.
Let's see where it takes us.
Okay. My first question is you have this podcast, the Carp Fishing Podcast. Where did the idea came from? Because you were one of the first to do a podcast about carp fishing.
Yeah, I think we were. There was one podcast who was original in front of us. Only for a year or 2, but me and Mike always talked about doing something together. There wasn't many podcasts in carp fishing across the world at that point, Mike, was there? There was hardly anything. So we always talked about it, and we have many conversations on the fishing bank, talking about various fishing related stuff. So we always thought it would be potentially good content. We always knew we've got quite a good friend circle, and we could reach out to different people across the whole industry, so we knew we'd get hopefully some interesting guests. And we just one summer we just thought, no, we'll start it. We didn't have very limited equipment, resources, and just started it. And off the back of that, it's just grown and grown and grown and grown.
I think the idea for us, though, Thomas, was always to break down the barriers of carp fishing, because especially in the UK, you know, maybe if you work for one brand, or you work for another brand, or that bait company, this bait company, historically, it's changed a little bit over the years, Mark, but historically you would stay within that, and or you would never have somebody on your podcast that maybe has an alternative brand affiliation. But we always wanted to create a podcast, to call it the Carp Fishing Podcast, although obviously we work, Mark owns Baitworks, and I work for Baitworks, so we work for a bait company. We didn't want it to be linked to the bait company. We wanted to have guests from all over carp fishing. People from Nash, people from other bait companies, mainline, and anyone can come on, because we wanted to create a community that has one common goal, and that's the love for being outdoors. Carp fishing brings many people together. I think it's great that barriers are now sort of over the years are slightly less than they were, and it's great to just have an open invite. Anybody can come on, and it's grown and grown and grown, Thomas. I think we can see where our podcast gets downloaded, Mark, can't we?
We can, yeah.
From the metrics and the podcast app, and it's all over. You would be amazed. Japan, Mongolia, Korea, Russia. It's everywhere. Places that you don't even think people would go carp fishing. It's just you realise how big carp fishing's got now, and podcasts, as you know, Thomas, are growing as a media. I think like 500%, 600%, 700% every year.
Yeah.
So it's the biggest growing content media, because I think people get in the car, put podcast on.
Yes, it replaces the in-depth interview which you saw on TV in previous times.
Yeah. And I will say then, Mark, we've been quite shocked at how well it's been received.
Yes, yeah, we have.
I think it's important on our podcast that we just talk about just like everyday life and the struggles, as we've got older as well. I think we like to always put in our podcast that, as we've got older, time has become less.
Yeah.
And you go through different challenges in life too, and I think we just always wanted to be a podcast that maybe was about lifestyle as well as carp fishing, as well as observations, growing fish, rigs, technical, anything.
Yeah.
And we try to mix it up, don't we?
We do, yeah. It tries to be reflective of our lives, but just the normal. We're not advertising everything. We're not pushing an agenda for my bait company or for a tackle company. It's
no advertising.
No advertising at all. We've had offers for people to advertise with us for money, but we've always turned it down and just kept it. Because then there's an agenda.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. You, Mark, you've been very open about your life. You had the death of your first daughter, your second daughter, I think.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you put it all on the podcast, which I think creates a bond with the public. Did you have a lot of reaction to that?
Yeah, we did. We got lots of lovely messages. Lovely messages from people who have been maybe in the same situation. People opened up, and we got a huge amount there. So we try and document. I think it's important to be open and honest about everything, and that was something I was going through at the time. And it was over quite a long period because we had to have funeral and all that as well. So I think I would be disingenuous if I didn't talk about it. But it was lovely. There was lots of people reached out, and a lot of people who've been in a similar situation. Which, and you can sort of go out and sport. We've made many friends from that as well.
Yeah. What's interesting, Thomas, is just to elaborate on what Mark says, you get messages from people you do not know.
Yeah.
Do no idea who they are, and they want to tell you their life story.
Yeah.
And they want to tell you what they're going through.
Yes.
And we don't know them.
Yeah.
But it's very what I'm looking for. It's very humbling.
It is, yeah.
Because they tell you everything that's going on in their life, and like I say, we don't know them.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It shows that carp fishing has an ability to bring people together.
Yeah.
Yes.
It brings people together. And one of my friends recently said that he classes carp fishing as a therapy session, because he said I can meet Alijn today, and by 10 o'clock tonight we could be sat having a beer talking about the most complex life things ever, and yet I've never met Alijn, but sometimes that's what carp fishing does. You can sit here today and
breaks the barriers,
doesn't it? And it's a very powerful thing,
Yes, it's a common ground, and it's this important that it even goes beyond politics, for example, because people often get in discussions about politics. But if you're a carp fisherman, you can be extreme right, extreme left, and still get together and talk about it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's very powerful, and I don't know about the cultural shift here in Belgium, Thomas, but in the UK, fishing now has been classified as a medical approved treatment for mental health.
Yeah.
So and rightly so, because we've all we all sometimes, maybe feeling a bit stressed or, a bit down. But when you come fishing, as soon as you open the door, you feel you're just cleansed, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's
You
very,
live
very,
in the moment as
yes,
well. Eh?
yeah, and that's it.
My
that's
job,
rare.
my regular job is also in the mental health area. So I try to do the same thing, but it gets laughed at because in your country, even the doctors can prescribe it.
Yes.
It would be nice if
Yeah.
it's like this here, but yeah, we're still far away from that. So,
Right.
yeah. But I'm thinking about the project. Maybe Alijn knows about it to do some to take some patients fishing.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I
Yeah,
think
and
also-
together with the VBK.
Yeah, no, it'd be very, very good. I think also we have, I don't know about you guys, but in the UK we have, especially for us, our children, we are battling against technology. So phones like this, walking along like this all the time. And how do you get young people to
How do
see
you replace that?
How do you challenge technology? Because this phone in a young person's hand it can be far more exciting than say, come fishing, come outside. They don't want it. They just want this, and that's, I find that very hard to accept.
challenging.
Yeah, and I think with young kids as well, when we grew up, Mike, then we didn't have phones or anything, but what we did have was the opportunity to go fishing and catch fish from lakes. But the young kids in the UK don't have that opportunity at the moment, I feel, because one, they're not being stocked. There's a lot of predation through otters and cormorants, taking a lot of the small fish. So these ground level waters where we would usually go and fish, which would spike our enthusiasm or spark a love for fishing at an early age, those young kids aren't having. It's been replaced by a phone now, and it's a real shame.
So you can't just get on your bike like we did and just go
all
off
the canals locally. There's no fishing in them.
No.
Public lakes, little public
Have you got otters in Belgium?
We have otters, yes.
But not you don't have the same problem as you have in England. But
Why do you think that is, Alan? Is it?
because they only arrived recently, but it has been put out by some nature organizations, but only recently, in very recent years, and it's not that they are already spreading everywhere. There's a few places where they have been spotted, but not that they have caused any big problems so far.
Right.
But I'm afraid they might do in the future.
It sounds like it's coming, possibly.
Yes, we have on that part a few advantages in that our waters are different than those in the UK. They're usually much deeper. They're not as clear as they are. There's many obstacles and features.
Sure.
So it's harder for another to hunt on carp as it is on most of the lakes in the UK. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, we are afraid of what is in store.
I think another thing that helps you, we look at is a lot of the canals here have steep banks
as well.
So otters really struggle to get in and out from the steep bank.
Yeah.
The otter has to have a run in, doesn't it?
And particularly when they try and pull their food up once they drag to the bank.
They need to be able to get it out
somewhere. To start
and
to move.
especially the big industrial canals, the new canal,
Yeah,
they're
new
like
canals.
that. So they would never hunt in them.
Yeah, or struggle.
I know from one project in Holland, many years ago when they started another program, that most of those that they had put out have been killed by cars.
Yes.
Trespassing the roads.
Yeah.
There's more. There's especially in Belgium. There's so much traffic here, and there's so much. When they travel from one water to another, they always have to take roads. And unfortunately for them, a lot of the time they're victims of car accidents.
Yeah. We said the same. We are nature lovers. We don't hate the otter. In fact, we really embrace that they are part of the ecosystem. But what happened in the UK is they also got released.
Yes.
So and then, as Alan said, they have no idea what a road is.
No, and they're not used to hunting in a natural way. So
That's right.
So it ended up as a disaster, like you said.
Yeah,
Lots got killed, didn't they?
lots and lots,
Yeah, lots got killed, and shame.
But the whole thing is you can't get a balance because normally you would think they come somewhere where they've not been before, so
Yeah,
there's a lot of fish. So they eat a lot, they get a lot of babies, a lot of otters, but then the amount of fish drops because they eat them. But
And they go
with
to
the
another
stocking
lake.
policy,
Yeah.
they stock fish again. So you keep breeding
cropping
otters
up, yeah.
actually, and that's I think a big part of the problem.
It
They
is,
always have a nice dinner plate with fish
Yeah.
in front of them.
And for us carp anglers, it's heartbreaking. You know, you have built some lakes. We have built for over 20 years. You have stocked the fish all those years ago. They grow into massive fish, and then another passes by and you
Yeah.
lose your 20 or your 25-year-old carp in an overnight.
Yeah. Sadly, when you talk about those stories, Alijn, especially in the UK, to Natural England or the nature people, they
They don't
means
see
nothing.
it like that.
Means
No,
nothing.
It means
No,
nothing to them.
They
No.
still see carp as non-native.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
it's
lost.
also very strange because they've been here 800 years,
Yeah.
still
They
not
still
native.
class
eh?
it. They still
Yeah,
class it as
yeah, yeah.
non-native.
Yeah. We lost only a few weeks ago. There's a lovely water near us, and one really old carp, very rare visitor to the bank once every 2-3 years.
Yeah,
A lovely carp, and this year the otter got it, didn't it? In the winter.
Gone.
Gone.
That's it.
Yeah,
Can't
and
be replaceable. Yeah.
can't replace it
Can't
because it's
replace
such a
it.
character carp.
Yeah.
You
It's
can't.
heartbreaking,
Yeah, it's
It
gone.
is. Yeah.
So, but I suppose that's very different to here. So
Yeah, it's very. We have the cormorants. We have a lot of cormorants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot of waters with only the big fish left,
Yeah.
bream and carp.
So it puts pressure on the stocking, doesn't it, of probably bigger carp than you need to for cormorants.
Yes.
For example, we have our own breeding center, or we had until this year. Now we stopped it because of that. The last 2 years I have put in around 400 fish, about that size.
Yeah.
When we fished it last week, I think, how many did we have left, Lieven, of that size? 3 or 4?
Yeah, and that's cormorant.
All gone.
Yes. Yeah, cormorants are
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good, aren't they, hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
and we can't shoot them. It's forbidden.
same in the
can't
UK.
You cannot shoot them.
No,
Oh,
you
we can
cannot.
get a license.
Yeah, you can get a
We
license.
license for cormorants.
But still, how many do you have to shoot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that a stock pond, Alijn? Like a stock
we
pond?
had 6 stock ponds, from small to bigger fish.
Yeah.
And each year we take out the fish and we put them in our main lakes.
It sounds great. It sounds a
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, perfect. We get them small, grow them big.
Yeah. But because we also have a problem with the changing climate. We have our water from a local canal.
Right.
And when it doesn't rain for 2 or 3 months, we don't have any water left.
Right. Okay.
So they cut off the water from the canal because otherwise the boat traffic is having some trouble. And when we don't have fresh water in, our level is
very low.
it's very low and too low, and we have rescue operations
Yeah.
every 2 years because of that. So we decide to stop it because
It's
too
hard.
many problems.
Yeah, very hard.
We have a new concept now.
Yeah.
With nets on our main lakes.
Okay.
Like nurseries, are they? Like you net like a little caged
A
area.
sort of cage, yeah.
Yeah.
4 meter by 4.
Yeah.
like
Great.
salmon.
Yeah. It works very well,
Yeah.
The only thing is you only can breed them up to 2.5 kilo,
Yeah.
3 kilo maximum. But that's big
That's
enough
big
to
enough,
to
yeah.
put them.
And
up.
you put spawn in those cages?
No. They have to be at least 25 centimeters, otherwise
Oh, okay.
they go through the nets.
Sure, sure.
Or they hurt them.
So you breed. You
so
breed
you
them
breed
some-
them in containers. I have a couple at my home. 1,000-liter containers from that
Yeah.
big to this size.
Yeah.
And then we put them in the nets.
Oh, it's great, mate, what a great story.
Yeah.
And that's all at your house.
Now the nets are on our main lakes, but
Yeah.
we have several of us have containers at home too.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, similar
We've
to
all
what I
been
do,
doing
yeah.
that for years.
Yeah, I'm the same.
You've got swimming pools at your house,
Little
haven't you?
swimming pools.
Like
yeah.
little child. I suppose they're not big swimming pools, but they're portable swimming
Kids,
pools.
but I have the
Yeah.
plastic containers and
Yeah.
the Artemia to feed them when they're very, very small.
Yeah.
Hatch them from eggs. Yeah,
Similar.
it's fantastic.
Well, on Thursday before we came here, we always sort of keep our ear to the ground of where a lake is spawning that we like the fish. And we got a call on Thursday, didn't we?
Yeah.
And a friend of ours, he's like, well, the fish are spawning, so we're in the van.
Now we're doing the same.
Yeah, 4 hours. Get the weed
Yeah.
in the area to.
In a bucket, aerator, backhoe.
Oh, yeah, and then pray that Yeah, it's amazing because that's so
Yeah.
the satisfaction of Alan, that you get
going
from that.
from like tiny. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. It's lovely.
It's great to hear that you guys you are way ahead of probably the UK doing that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, what I wanted to say about the children and the contact with nature, I think nature sometimes is overprotected. There's no public nature where they can play and destroy and get in the ground and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit a Belgian problem. We can stay on the paths and look at the birds,
Yeah.
but they don't
Look
like.
but don't touch.
Yeah.
Really?
What, there are no nature spaces to just go and enjoy yourself?
Yes, they organize it and they take a part of the wood and there the children can do whatever they want. Something like that, but not everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a big tendency to overprotect.
Yeah.
So you can't go in, you can't look at it, you can't do anything. You have to stay
But
aside of it.
You couldn't go in and make a fire or
No
make a
fires,
den
no
or,
fires.
Yeah, like
Not
you
like in France, for example.
Yeah.
There,
just go and do it.
you do what you want. Here, it's
Why is that? What is that concept?
I think.
No,
go ahead. I think one of the main reasons for that is because nature has been neglected for decades, and when the powers that are in force to protect them now, they are overprotected because they want to take it back by force.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's good for the diversity. We have a lot more diversity, but it's bad for the children. They just they can't
because
go out
they
and
lose
do
contact
things.
with it.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
of
that's
that.
right. You're dead right. Lose contact. But we have the other problem, though, Thomas. We have open spaces, park areas that it really is heart destroying, Mark, because they will go there. Last year, a lake near us, and they will have bonfires, barbecues, beer, lilos, blow up thingies, and they'll drink and they'll just leave it.
Yeah.
And you turn up the next morning and you think, what?
What happened here?
It looks like a rubbish dump, and they just leave it. So where does that come from? Where does that concept of not picking your rubbish up ever develop? Because as a human being, surely it's ingrained in you
It
that
should be instinctive.
I will pick that up to not let my environment look like that. And that's the thing that we are always astonished, Mark, aren't we?
Yeah.
So
Well,
how can you just leave that?
Yeah. I've read an article about.
We see that on a lot of our lakes as well.
Yeah.
On the VBK water, when you arrive and there's some rubbish, you have to take it out first before you can start fishing. Otherwise, you will be responsible for it when you leave. But on some lakes, it's especially on hot summer days like this, you're busy half an hour cleaning up other people's stuff before you can start fishing. It's that bad, especially around the big cities. Waters like Hombeek, for example.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are coming to the bank, to the lakes to enjoy a beer, to everything, but they leave everything behind.
Very, very sad. And
It's sad, yeah.
I don't know how that's changed over time, and humans feel that's okay.
Yeah.
It's become acceptable.
Become acceptable. I don't understand. Very difficult.
neither do I.
There was an article in the Guardian about it, and the theory was because they don't feel at home, they don't feel accepted, they feel left out of society, they don't care about society, and they just litter. But yeah, it's only a theory, of course, because I don't know, the guy who cleans up the rubbish in the ocean, Bojan Slat.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. He reacted to that and he said, no, littering is the litterers. They're a really important part of littering and they're responsible. You don't have to put some
A label.
excuse
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, it's just littering and they should stop it.
Thomas, we've only recently decided to go fishing in Europe, Mark, right?
Yeah.
So last year,
two years.
we just wanted to have a different adventure and try different things. And it's surprised us actually, some of the public lakes in France.
Yeah.
And the sad bit is that's anglers.
Yeah.
Because we see it, don't
A
we?
lot of anglers litter.
We see it, they move out the swim and you think, well, if the anglers can't get it right, what hope have we got?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like,
Yes. I think you're too much on the beaten track in France and
Probably.
all those things. Yeah. Because when I go to France, that's not my
anymore.
impression.
Not
That's
anymore,
not
Thomas. We've
Not
got that.
anymore. You have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
You've got the
But
Holy
not
Grail.
from France.
Yeah.
We got the Bible.
Yeah, you
We've
can.
got 2 Bibles. This Bible, we got this Bible.
Of course, yeah. Okay. I have my next question is, it's also about the podcast. What do you think is the hard part of making a podcast?
Oh, I don't know. You have a go first, Mark, and then I'll have a little think.
Hard part. I don't know. We've always found it quite easy, really, because me and Mike have been friends for a long time. Over 25 years we've known each other. I mean, before that I met you when
30 years.
30 years. I met you when
Yeah.
I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
He was like 14. Maybe?
Mark had just come back from Yateley fishing. He was
Yeah,
17.
That's
He'd
right.
caught a leather from the match lake.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, so Mark had this
he was
kind of
famous already.
I've
a
been
bit
to
of a swagger
Yateley.
to me.
Yeah, I've been to
Yateley
Yateley,
already.
and I was only on. I'd had a tent, a blue one, and a rod that looked like I'd bought it from a supermarket.
From Lidl's.
Yeah. So Mark was a few years ahead of me, but yeah, 30 years. 30 years is a long time. I suppose you develop a friendship, right?
We do, and I think hopefully the conversations naturally flow, and it's never awkward, and we've always got something to talk about. We haven't run out of anything to say yet, have we?
No.
So the hardest thing, I suppose, for us is trying to get interesting guests on to sort of break it up, because in a day and age now where there's lots of other podcasts, particularly in the UK, paying guests to come on, it's hard for us to go because we don't charge any money for guests. We get them for free. So it's hard for us to try and tempt people to come to us when they're getting paid elsewhere.
Yeah.
They get paid.
Yeah,
Some
of them.
do.
Not
Some
all
do.
of them.
Not all
some
of them. Not all of them.
Or they,
Small little fees,
Yeah.
really.
or so if it's a tackle brand, they maybe won't pay them, but they will give them chairs and rods and come and
Coming on
a different way.
Okay.
I think there's just a lot more people doing them, so the pool of people that we can ask to come on are all being asked by similar people. Come to our podcast. No, come to mine.
Yeah.
No, come to my podcast. You know,
Yes.
there's probably 6 or 7 good podcasts now,
Yeah, I'd say this.
and we listen to them all.
Yeah.
Like that, I enjoy every podcast.
We do. I'm not against. I like to listen to. I think it's really good, really healthy to have competition and different podcasts. Brilliant,
Yeah.
you know.
Do
But
you know what a hard thing is?
Go on.
Time.
Time.
You may
Time to
laugh
film
at
it.
this. No, you may laugh at this, but we are both busy in our own areas, and just I know it's crazy, but coming together for one day a month
Yeah.
is and we're not that far away. Still
no.
feels difficult.
It does. Yes. That
Doesn't it?
takes a bit of planning. Yeah.
And it's that's the only thing. Time. But once we start, we could record for 5 or 6 hours, Thomas. We just chat. I think there's lots of. Fortunately for us, we keep carp. We are surrounded by lakes, so we're always observing something to do with carp.
Yes.
So even if we haven't got necessarily a topic of conversation, say a rig or bait, we're always testing bait ingredients or product. So we can always talk about carp observations, what we've seen.
Yeah.
What's happened this month on the carp and work. Well, we tested salt. We tested like Himalayan rock salt, and we'll talk about that.
I've heard about it.
There was no reaction, so that was rubbish. And we talk about things like that. So,
Yeah.
So there's always something to talk about. But it's time, I think, Mark.
I think it's time. Yeah, time. Getting some good guests, good quality guests. They don't have to be famous.
Yeah.
We've had guests on our podcast who no one would have heard. They're not in mainstream fishing, but they are very, very good anglers
Yes.
and have a different view or a different way of fishing, and we try and get interesting people on like that. So
Yeah.
Off the beaten track.
off the beaten
Yes,
track
yeah.
people.
You should get Fergal Sharkey on your podcast.
Yeah, he's a
Exactly.
character, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, but he's
Yeah,
a
I know.
warrior against
I know,
sewage.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's more. I think he's more.
He's fighting
more
a war
attractive.
against because they have a sewage problem in the UK.
Yeah, massively.
Every time it rains, the overflow of the shit comes into the rivers and then goes through the ground into the lakes and all those
Yeah.
things.
The water
And
companies.
he's on a quest to solve
To
it.
expose it,
Yeah,
isn't
to
he? Yeah.
expose it. Yeah.
The water companies are allowed to discharge pollution into the water
So much. isn't
so
it?
much, and when they go over their quota and they get a big charge, they just pay it. Millions of pounds.
Because they're making millions of pounds,
Yeah.
so they don't. It doesn't matter. It's in their budget, isn't it?
Yeah. So when it rains, as you said, Thomas, you can watch an overflow pipe, say in a river, and just shit coming out.
Yeah.
And
into your chalk rivers.
well, the hardest thing is
Yeah.
that those rivers people are into natural bathing now, where they like to swim in the rivers, and people are becoming ill, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Bad belly and sickness and
Yeah.
diarrhea. So
And the river systems now, they're decimated by otters, decimated by cormorants, and now you've got pollution.
Yes.
and now you've got
On
floating
top
poo.
of that.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah.
There's none of that grassroots or lakes. What would you say? For starters, or for people coming into any sort of fishing, and they're not the river systems where we would fish. Just not there.
Yeah.
Just not there. And
If
so-
you like barbel or chub
Yeah,
or
anything.
dace
Roach.
or roach, yeah, you'd argue that those river systems are not an ecosystem that support good, healthy stocks now.
No.
But hopefully that will change.
Yeah.
Fergal.
Fergal on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
also there's this guy, Mark Fennell. You've heard of him?
Mark Fennell. What is he an
He's,
activist?
he has the Wild Carp Trust.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes, no, I have. Yeah, I think I've had a brief conversation with Mark. Mark
Yeah.
would be interesting to get on, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want him also, but
Yeah.
we're a Flemish podcast.
Well, why not breaking the boundaries? It's
Well, we'll see how it goes with the accent and the listeners and all those things.
Good.
I mean, just out of curiosity, Thomas. I mean, obviously, apologies. Obviously, we don't know any Flemish, but how many people here will be able to understand our podcast here? I mean, it's well spoken wherever we've gone in
Yeah,
Belgium.
it is. Yeah, it seems to be.
No idea really.
Yeah. Is it well?
Lots.
Yeah,
A
lots
lot.
of people will understand it.
I'm sure 80%.
Okay. So apologies to any listeners.
Yeah,
We know very little
they were
Flemish.
tuned off by now.
Yeah.
But
Turn off.
they're all listening to English podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You can see it in the church. They're always
because a
switch.
lot of carp angling originated from England, so a lot of especially carp anglers were inspired by English books and magazines in the past.
Oh,
So
cool. Yeah.
It's so they know a few things.
Yeah. It's the other way around now, Alan. We're inspired by you guys because we want to come
Yeah.
over and enjoy an adventure. Yeah.
So, what's the secret of your friendship?
Well, I suppose at the very, very start, we're both similar in sort of what we fish for now. When we met many, many years ago, we didn't know each other that well, but we stayed sort of friends and met each other, didn't we, over sort of
Yeah.
in and out over a few years. And it's only when we got into when I started my bait company, which was 17 years ago now, then Mike started using my bait, and then we sort of come together and started regularly talking, and we both sort of fish similar sort of waters, or had a similar, I suppose, outlook on our carp fishing, and like to target maybe some of the lower stock and maybe the very pretty fish. And we found ourselves sort of fishing in this similar sort of area, so that's sort of just a natural come together, really, I suppose. And
They both grew up in Bristol,
both Bristol, yeah, both
so
from Bristol,
so local town.
a local town
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, and I suppose over that time we've just fished more waters, and the more time you spend time with people, and then Mike come involved with Baitworks about. I always used Mike when I started Baitworks as a good soundboard for some business-related stuff or ideas anyway, and so we
Yes.
always and we got sort of talking on that level, and then Mike's then started to work. How long have you been working? It's probably
4
longer
years?
than I think.
4 years.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
4 years.
What was your background before that?
I worked in marketing for big NGO global marketing companies. So my background would be, I suppose, digital and traditional marketing. I would often work for charities like UNICEF or Save the Children or big global NGOs, and it wouldn't be unusual for me to be working in the field, so in Sierra Leone, maybe Cameroon, collating content, real life stories of harrowing things to bring back to the UK for those charities to use, for them to then hopefully get people to pledge money for them.
Okay.
So and I guess as I got older, every trip that I had that involved that sort of thing would involve hostage training. So if you get taken hostage,
Yeah.
Okay.
would your family like to do? So at that point, I have a child, I have a girlfriend, a wife, and as you get older, you think
Start thinking
this
about,
is dangerous, you know.
yeah.
So and lots of time away from home. I missed out on lots of my son growing up because of work, and as Mark said, we were chatting all the time, and I then started to manage the social media for Mark just in my spare time, because it gave me a headspace that I didn't have with my normal job. And then as obviously Baitworks progressed, it was a risk because Mark's friendship means more to me than my job.
Yes.
So it's like,
we talked about that.
Yeah,
didn't
do
we?
you work
At the
with
very
somebody
start,
that's
yeah.
like, do you work with somebody that you've got a good friendship with? What happens if it went wrong?
Of course, because
Yeah.
you have to give difficult. You have to say difficult things to people in a
Yeah.
work situation. You're not
Yeah,
doing that very well, Mike. It's
Exactly.
something
No,
like
you
that,
have to.
yeah.
And I always said to Mark, there are, whatever happens, you have to, we have to be able to have those conversations as well as the friendship stuff. But we only spoke about it recently. Like, we spend a lot of time together, and in all those years, I don't think we've once raised our voice. We've never had a conversation that you would class as an argument. There's never been a moment where we felt like, oh, just go away, get out. Like, we spent a lot of time together, and it's never really
it's
gone
true.
down that route, has it?
No, it hasn't. Not yet.
Yeah.
Yes, it's incredible. It will come.
Not yet. We'll see what we get tonight because we're tired, aren't
Yeah,
we?
we're one step away from a full relationship.
Yeah.
Our wives and girlfriends are a bit
They
worried.
always question it, don't they? They always question
You're
it.
going away again?
Again.
Yeah,
What,
together.
With Mark again?
Yes, it's one of those.
Okay. You had this was something I wanted to ask you, Mike. You have this born and bred thing, because you also have a sweater on today. Was it about the original English carp, or?
Believe
What
it or
was
not,
that?
Mark started Born and Bred, but then Mark lost time in his life with a bait company, and I was very passionate about it, and Mark was, there's only one person really that I would let sort of pick it up and run with it, would be you. So I guess I've had, what is Born and Bred? It's very difficult to put it into context, but many years ago, there was lots of carp coming into the UK illegally. They were being smuggled in, and purely for financial benefit. So I know lots of the shanty fish, the Deurwaarder fish come in. There was lots of fish from rivers, canals in France. When fish farms were not about in the UK, the easiest thing to do to get a big carp was to come to France, steal one, and take the risk of smuggling it back. So back in the early 90s, we had lots of waters that suddenly appeared with 40-pound carp in. But the ironic thing was, at the time, Thomas, you look at that fish and you say, that's a Deurwaarder fish.
Yeah.
You can spot it a mile off.
Yeah.
Especially a fish from Durant, huh?
Yeah, exactly
Even
that.
those in Maddox as well.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, Rings there was a few, and in those sort of places, and I guess Born and Bred was born on the back of, it sort of piggybacked on the back of, do you remember Echo with Ian Chilcott and everything? They were raising the profile of people stealing carp and smuggling them back, because at times customs actually stopped
Destroying
destroy them when they were found. But not only that, these cowboys that would take the risk were putting carp's welfare at the bottom of the priority list. So no, they didn't care about carp. They were just trying to get it for financial money, and lots of those carp died in transit. What Born and Bred was an opportunity to try and tell people or raise awareness that actually we can breed our own.
Yeah.
And with a little bit of time and a little bit of passion and a little bit of dedication, you can breed your own. And please do not, if you can, fish for these fish that are being stolen in Europe, because if you fish for them, you are fueling the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that was Born and Bred, same as Echo. But I will say, Thomas, Echo kind of folded to a degree, because as time went on, carp fishing boomed. I hate to say it. I think a lot of people lost. Did they care, Mark?
No.
There was a time when these fisheries that clearly had big carp from dubious origin were taking lots of money, people queued up at gates ready to fish for them, and I guess if you come into carp fishing at that time with no knowledge of you just see that lake over there has 10 40 pounders in it. I wouldn't say you wouldn't care, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know, so it looks attractive. And I think it was very difficult. And a couple of laws changed. They opened up, they legalised importation of carp, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that's when Echo, obviously that's not the case anymore, but they legalised the importation of carp. And I think it was purely linked to the koi industry, I believe. And of course that opened the floodgates a little bit then. And things changed a little bit. And of course now in the UK, this is very difficult to maintain this ethos, because we have Croatian carp, we have Israeli carp, and those strains are in now, and the strains are so diluted. So somebody would have crossed a Croatian carp with an Israeli carp and probably crossed it with a Alijn.
Yeah.
So they're so diluted, it's almost like the horse has bolted, it's gone.
Okay.
There's so many strains in the UK now that those big carp that have been obviously come from Europe for purpose of growth are here to stay.
Yeah.
They're here. But it was all down to trying to raise awareness to stop, for people to know that they're being smuggled in and the carp are dying, and for what? For an angler's happy picture.
Yeah.
And it was a time when it was very prevalent, Mark.
It was
really sad, really sad times. I've got pictures on my phone of carp laid out in customs, hundreds of them dead. As Alijn said, just they killed them because they found them because it was illegally being smuggled. So, and in a way, you can see at that point that the English probably had a bad name for themselves at some of these public waters. I seen firsthand when I was younger. When I was 18, I fished a commercial fishery in France. I won't name it, but I seen firsthand the wagon pulling up and sacks being taken out, undo the sack, bloop, undo the sack, bloop, undo the sacks. So anglers were out catching public carp and bringing them to commercial waters.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a different problem because that was commercial waters in France, but they're still stealing them.
Of course.
They're still stealing them, and I hope that, I'm pretty sure that a lot of that's stopped now. Especially with the great stuff that I guess Monkey Climber and Samir did. You've got to look at the big Deurwaarder Common when that was stolen. I think the internet's such a powerful place now, Thomas, that you can't steal carp.
No, you can't get away with it now.
No. Every carp scale pattern, you know it, and it, as soon as it pops up in a commercial fishery, you just know. Everyone's got that awareness.
People react to
it.
If you can show a picture of a fish, which was somewhere else. Yeah.
It's the power of social media, isn't it?
So that I hope that kind of answers it. I mean, if you've come into carp fishing in the last 10 years, you probably would have missed it.
Yeah.
But if you've been in carp fishing a long time, then sadly we still got a few remnants of it in the UK. Of those carp, some of them have survived, Mark, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
But they weren't brought in legally. And the big thing with that, Thomas, as well, which is something that we are really passionate about, is the spread of disease.
Yeah.
There's one thing where you've got carp welfare, but we all know now, over the years, decades have passed, of what moving fish can do. And especially when somebody is trying to, steal a fish from Europe, they bring in, their environments are totally different to UK native carp, and
different parasites.
Yeah, different parasites.
And also because the carp in England and the UK have been, they have not seen any other strains they never have seen in their life. So it's like when the Europeans came into America with the Indians, they died of influenza because the body was just not resistant to it.
Yes.
It's the same thing that happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you only got to look at the rise of, is it SVC?
SVC, yeah.
KHV. We see that so much now in the UK.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was about many years ago, but we didn't. The Environment Agency will post up when they have a fishery that's been diagnosed with KHV or SVC, and it just seems to be so many more than it used to be, Mark, isn't it?
And then they put an exclusion zone around that fishery, which is like maybe 10 miles or something. So if you have a fishery in that zone, then you're not allowed to, or you
have to close.
Yeah.
Close
well, you're very restricted in your movements of fish there.
So you've now got lots of fisheries you'll see in the UK, especially day tickets where you've got lots of different anglers coming in, tanks to dip your nets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's really important. But who, you know as well as I do, like people don't do it.
Well, what we have on a couple of syndicates here is there are nets and slings on site, and you can only use those.
Correct.
That's good.
Biosecurity is really, and that's the best way, isn't it? Or the best way for us, speaking to Simon Scott, and we know ourselves, is that the net tanks, they're not that effective. But what is effective is just dry it out in the sun, bone dry. Bone dry.
Okay.
Don't carry a wet net from one canal to a lake or from another lake to a canal, because that's when it happens. Because we got home recently, didn't we, from a French trip?
Yeah.
And we undone our unhooking mat, and in our unhooking mat was loads of shrimps and snails.
Big shrimps as well. They're invasive
And
shrimps.
that's an invasive, non-native species.
yeah.
So we suddenly realised, wow, if we would have taken that to the lake and they got in there,
Yeah, that's it.
that's a non-native species that could have just overrun the lake.
Yeah, big shrimps, weren't they, as well? Yeah, amazing,
Yeah. So it goes right from the top down, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Just dry your nets out, really bone dry. Really, really dry, and hopefully that sort of helps everything.
Okay. Well, I would like to do the questions with the dice, and then we can go over to the VBK.
Yeah,
which
please.
is,
We're passionate
your
about
interest.
VBK. We don't know much about it, but we want to know
We
more.
want to know more, yeah, exactly.
So first the dice. We have there's 2 dice. It's on the phone, and it goes up to 40. So we have 39 questions because you can't throw one.
Really, this is interesting. Is this a regular feature, Thomas?
Yes, that's the only feature we have.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good.
We did a feature. We wanted to test, I wanted to test every time a lead replacement, but that didn't go a long way because I'm not catching much. But I thought that was interesting too.
Levin's catching loads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
got
Lieven,
lots
but
of-
it wasn't with Lieven.
Lieven, sorry, Lieven's catching loads. We need
Lieven
to-
can test it. Yeah. Lieven, how many carp now?
41.
41. Okay.
This year.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm on 1. No, joking.
I'm on 2 and I'm not joking. Okay. So you have to swipe, and then you can give it to Mark. And let's
so
say,
what do I do? Swipe this, yeah?
yeah. I will have to translate my question, so it will
So
take a
literally
little-
this way?
No, from the bottom to the top.
Okay. So we're on 2 and 16.
It's 18, eh?
Okay, right, yeah. You've done some great prep work here, Thomas.
What's your favorite music style?
Yeah.
Who's this to Mike? Or
Yeah, Mike. Yeah.
Oh, it's to me.
You're
Okay.
next.
My favourite music style. I like a good indie band.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody like that. Or my guilty pleasure. My guilty pleasure is I guess like a good.
Not Abba.
Pardon?
No, I don't.
yeah. My guilty pleasure would be I like the original, like Balearic Ibiza music, dance music.
Oh yeah.
That sort of stuff. So yeah, I will listen, Thomas, to anything.
Yeah.
Mostly podcasts now.
Yes. Okay.
So your turn, Mark.
Yeah.
Or no, Alan. Who is it?
Well, I brought Alijn for the VBK
Okay.
because he's done it already.
I see.
He's glad not to do.
I bet you're glad
the
sitting
band.
this out.
Sorry,
It's 23.
23.
23.
Do you think the preservation of the nature important, and is it your responsibility? You've answered it already a bit.
Yeah, I think as anglers, you sort of are your custodians, haven't you, of the places you go, the places you fish. Certainly, a lot of the anglers are the eyes and ears, particularly of like pollution and litter, or if something's happening at the lakes. Then I think we have an obligation, certainly as anglers, to try and protect the wild and to embrace it as well. You know, I feel like carp fishing is very much, you're sort of surrounding yourself and you're embedded in nature. So I think that those should go hand in hand. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you do enough, or could you do more? Or?
I think we all could do better.
Yeah.
We all could do better, but particularly in the UK, there's not a lot of education. Not a lot of education around it. I find. I was very fortunate, and Mike was as well. When we were young anglers, we went on to fish in a thing called a junior fishing, which is basically a young academy. Once or twice a year, the Carp Society then would put on a carp academy for young children would enter, and out of a hat they would pick so many people, and me and Mike were fortunate to go on those, and we were only sort of 14, 15, but they gave you, went with experienced anglers to fish, and they taught you and to show you stuff, and to, about litter, about carp fishing basics,
Handle carp.
and to handle carp, safety, but also about nature as well. And I've always had those fundamentals from a young age, and I think that's potentially what's missing, particularly with lots of new anglers coming into the sport, particularly with COVID over the last 2 or 3 years. Then we've seen a huge influx in the UK of anglers, because it was one of the only disciplines you were allowed to do through COVID. Probably similar here. So you must have had a huge influx of anglers who were taking their brothers and sisters fishing, and some of those carried on. And I go back to sort of those fundamentals that I was taught from a young age. I think that's missing, unfortunately, in particularly in the UK.
Yeah.
We don't see that. So people coming into the sport, not necessarily coming in with any understanding of nature at all, but so it's something hard to sort of teach and sort of roll out. But
another hard one, Mark, actually, is that the volume of anglers that are coming in, I think a big thing is that nobody's taught how to handle a carp.
Handle big,
Even small carp, big carp. You can be an angler today.
Yeah.
You can go to a lake and catch a 40-pounder, but nobody really teaches you how to handle that carp.
Yeah.
But when it's on the bank,
Yeah.
and how you see some horror stories, Mark.
You
don't
do,
you?
even carrying fish.
People stood up like this.
Yeah.
And you just see some real, and that maybe that isn't the angler's fault.
No.
But I don't think as tackle firms and bait companies, anybody who has a voice in carp fishing, we should all do more.
Should do more.
Like
Yes.
videos
Absolutely.
and demonstrations, and I think it would help lots of people, because
Yeah, you're right.
even a thing for us that we talk about a lot is when you take a carp out of the net. So you land your fish. I see lots of people where the rig is in the fish's mouth, and there's lots of metal in today's rigs, isn't there? Swivels and bits, and the hook gets caught in the net, and then they lift the carp, and it's just like that. And it's simple things where I think we miss an education opportunity,
you're right.
don't we?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you have to then feel for the carp, because they get the rough end of the stick.
They do. Yeah.
Don't they? So it's great having lots of new anglers, but I do think, how do you educate them?
How do you educate them? I think we're obliged, as Mike said, as tackle companies, bait companies, to put that out there, to put that information out there.
Yeah.
And we try and do that on videos, and we always talk about fish safety, but it should extend to litter and everything. And there's a lot of companies now who have taken up the mantle with particularly picking up litter. Like Nash Tackle have done a lot of litter pickings on fisheries, and just raised awareness of it. Really important. Really important, and you can never do enough, but we should all be doing more of that.
Yeah. Okay. You can pass the.
We're going back, Thomas.
Back to
Mike. We're going back.
yeah.
And I'm a bit concerned where these questions are going.
Yeah.
Well, I've taken out the worst one.
Yeah.
I've got 28.
28.
It's a shame I can't read your questions, because I'm.
What's the
Change
most
it.
annoying thing other anglers do?
Oof.
Oh
It's a
no!
big question.
That's a big question. Oh no!
Is it still growing in the UK, the number of carp fishers?
Yeah.
Still growing.
Massive.
Yeah.
massive. Yeah.
The most annoying
Not enough
thing.
waters.
There's lots of things, isn't there? But I try not to. I try and have a rounded view, Thomas. I think when you see somebody do something, you think maybe they're not that experienced, or maybe they don't know, or maybe they just need a little bit of a help, maybe. But the most annoying thing, I think, is it's that alarm that's really loud.
Okay.
And-
I was just
thinking
on this
they
same
put the
thing.
rod on the rest. It's a
Beep, 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 beep.
all day.
Terrible.
Some reel in with it. Beep, 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 beep. It's just like everyone's like this. Everyone's jumping up, aren't they? It's constant. But
I have a friend like that, but I try to get to the why does he do that, and I don't get there. It's just like, wow, it's normal.
yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to get annoyed when you're fishing.
Yeah.
I think these days you see so many anglers, you think you know,
It's easy to get annoyed.
everyone's there
Yeah.
to enjoy their bit of space, aren't they? And you know, if as long as they look after the carp and the carp doesn't come to no harm, and they look after the environment,
Okay.
just do what you like.
Yeah.
You know, because enjoy your little bit of time. Yeah. Oh, we back to Mark? Or was that
Yeah,
it?
back to more.
Oh, good. Oh, hang on. Sorry. We've lost
Oh.
we've lost the dice.
Yes.
Yes. I think you should roll it for him and just pick the hardest question.
Okay, that's 21.
21.
Oh, that sounds like a bad one.
What's your most beautiful memory?
Beautiful memory.
Yeah.
Is this fishing related?
You
Or?
can fill it in as you wish.
Oh, is your wife listening to this?
Yeah. Beautiful memory. I think it would be a carp capture. Keep it carp related.
Claire?
Yeah, yeah. Not when I met, when I met my
When I met
then
Claire.
wife. Yeah, when I met my girl. Yeah, carp related. It would be. I was in quite a bad car crash 7 years ago. Got head-on collision. I was put into a coma. I should have died at the scene. I shouldn't be here now. I was very, very lucky to live. So had a real bad car crash. I was in hospital for a long time. My pelvis totally shattered. Big injury on my head. It took a long time to recover in hospital, and I had no carp fishing or nothing then. So when I came out of hospital, all I wanted to do was go fishing, but I couldn't walk at the time, so I had to basically go through physiotherapy to walk and to get back on my feet again. And a couple of friends, so I hadn't fished the whole year, so a couple of friends said to me, look, we're trying to get you out fishing, but at the time I was in a wheelchair for a little bit, and then I got onto crutches so I could sort of get about. And they said, we'll take you over to this lake with a friend who runs similar to a little syndicate. You can go over. This was in sort of November, so it was quite cold. We didn't expect to catch anything. So the friends took me over there. My mate Giles at the time got there early, so he beat me. Although the other guy was like, yeah, you can fish where you want, Mark. My other friend, he got there early and he wanted to get in the best spot. So I didn't think I was going to, he did.
It's Giles,
And
yeah.
Giles, yeah, and he caught one as well. He caught one that morning.
Beware of Giles.
Beware of
Yeah,
him.
beware of
Yeah,
Giles.
sneaky, yeah.
Sneaky Giles.
So we sat up there. We sat up fishing, and I could obviously do the rods and that, but the walk from the lodge to the rods was only probably 30 yards, 40 yards, but on crutches and hopping. It took me a long time to sort of to get over. So we tackled up the rigs and cast them out into the lake, and bearing it's cold, didn't expect it, but for me it was just fishing, lovely, out fishing, and had some food. And with that, I've had sounder boxes on the lodge, and I just had absolute one toner. It's melted away, and I'm trying to get up, and I can't get over quickly. I'm hobbling on the crutches, and my friends are sort of laughing, videoing me sort of trying to get over. So it's fucking beep, going on forever and ever. So I got to the rod and struggled to get up and lift into it, and played this fish all the way back, and the lake itself is it's up and down, there's lots of contours, and there's loads of zebra mussels, so it's quite tricky to get the fish in. So I played the fish and got it all the way into the bank. Managed to, my friend put the net under it, and it was a big one for the lake, about sort of 14 kilos, which is like 30 pounds, a new 30-pound fish for the lake. And when it went into the net, it was very, very emotional for me. I actually had a couple of tears, and just to get out and to catch that fish. So my friends helped me. They had to do everything, so I couldn't lift the because where I'd had the car crash, my pelvis was totally shattered, so I had loads of screws, big cut across the abdominal, so I could barely bend down or do anything really. So they weighed the fish and sorted it out, and then they said, "Oh, take a picture." And I said, "How am I going to take a picture? I can't lift it up." So they tried to put it. I was sat on a chair, and they tried to place it on my lap, and it was just all a bit awkward. And in the end, I managed to. I come up with a new pose, and that was I led down and basically had the fish like that, and it led down. And I got a picture of it, and it's one of my most favourite shots It's big, long fish, really nice scaly fish, and I'm sort of led down next to it. They unhook him out there.
Spooning with the fish.
Almost, but it's nice. You can see everything. I've got the crutches in the background, and yes, my screen's saved on one of my computers at home. But just a lovely moment, and just reminds you sort of what fishing can give you. Because that was when I was having a car crash and I was in hospital. They put me in an induced coma for a number of days, and then brought me out. And I remember all I was worried about. I didn't worry about work. I didn't care about work. All I cared about was family and fishing. That was it.
Yeah.
What particularly family around me, but I really rekindled sort of an urge to fish. And I couldn't fish the rest of that year because I was recovering. And then when I got out and caught a fish, it just reminded me. It almost like takes you back to when you was a young kid and you hook your first one or your first big one. That excitement, and it sort of rekindled that. So that's. Yeah, for me that was the most beautiful moment. It still remains whenever I think of a moment, particularly in fishing, and that's it.
Yeah, a hospital room is the total opposite of fishing.
It is. Yeah,
the white walls and
horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
Moaning people next to you.
We've often actually joked about it since. So he's laying down next to this fish, and we've called it the lay down leanie pose. The lay down leanie. He's like this. Like holding his fish,
hasn't caught on. We
haven't seen anyone else do it.
No, not yet. No.
We don't want that to be caught on. No.
Yeah. In one of Dave Lane's books, there's a picture of his friend. What's his name? From Waiting for Waddle.
Oh,
Phil Thompson.
Phil Thompson, which has a fish in between his legs.
And
it reads, "He really shouldn't do that to the big fish," or something like that. Really funny.
Yeah, it's some funny old poses, wasn't it, back in the day of the old fish. Yeah.
But do you still have consequences of the crash, or is it all over now?
I was very lucky, very lucky. I've got no lasting injuries apart from my flexibility, so trying to touch toes is
okay.
So I get stiff. So in the winter when it's cold, I get very stiff. Stiff. I have to have usually a hot water bottle to warm me up. My right foot and right side. So the impact was here on my right side. I had a lot of nerve damage, so my foot sometimes tingles a little bit. But apart from that, very lucky. Very lucky. I had a fractured spine as well, but really lucky. If I had where the impact was, it had gone through, my pelvis had shattered and it had severed part of my arteries, so I was bleeding internally. And if the air ambulance didn't have, they had been carrying blood for the. They don't usually carry blood. Usually that's done by motorbike. But they carried blood for the first. I was their first patient, and they only started stocking that blood in their helicopters the week prior. So it was still in the wrappers. So as they were coming to me, they were opening the wrappers and reading instructions in terms of well to do it. And if they didn't have the blood, because when they pulled me out of the wreckage, the pressure, because the car was pinned, the pressure was released, and the blood was flowing faster, and my blood pressure was, and you would have basically had about 5 minutes to live once that compression had gone. But luckily they had blood and they were pumping blood in fast, and they put compression on and then managed to get me to hospital. So very lucky. But apart from, I made a full recovery, apart from having because all your hamstrings and everything locks up, and it's very hard to get that back, full mobility to back where I was. Well, I used to be able to touch my toes and twist and do everything. So I struggle with my flexibility, but very lucky I can walk, can fish.
Do you consider yourself happier now than before the accident because you had this confrontation with that?
100%. I feel very lucky in the respect that I've had 2 pivotal moments in my life, 2 car crashes in my life.
Don't get in a car, Mark.
One I've got etched on here, which is September 2005, and that was a car crash where car span round. I hit two embankments. I was fine, no injuries, but it really shook me up. Really, it was a real pivotal moment. Like, wow, I could have died today.
Yes.
And that was the day that I decided. I was in a job selling insulation. Do you know insulation?
Yeah. Isolation.
Sales job. Selling insulation. I was with a girlfriend who it was going nowhere. She was nice, but it was going nowhere. I was playing football, semi-professional football, so playing all around the country. but I was unhappy with that scenario.
Yeah.
And then I had the car crash.
The second one.
Sorry?
The second
first one.
Sorry, the first one. Yeah, the first car crash. Had the first car crash, and it didn't hit me until I could have died. It hit me about 3 days later after the crash. I'm sort of thinking, I was like, right, I wanted to make some fundamental changes. And at the time, Baitworks, I was part-time doing Baitworks, so it wasn't a full-time job. I was just doing it on the weekends, making a little bit of bait for friends, for Mike, for local people. And I thought, right, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to build that company, and that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love. I love carp fishing, I love bait. So that week, I finished with my girlfriend, who I've been with for like 5 years, 6 years. So finished that, gone. I retired from football that week, retired, and then quit my job that week as well. So right, had my notice in. So I was like all in then to make bait. And from that was such a pivotal moment that then I said, if it crashes and burns, if I don't make it, then I'll get another job doing something else. But from that moment, it just, everything
Would you say that you've lost your fear for taking such decisions?
I think when you discover your own mortality, you just think, do you know what? The fear of it not working doesn't really now come into it because I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have that fear of it's not going to work. I thought I'm going to make this work. Whatever happens, I'm going to make this work.
Yes.
And from that day, I said, like, I'm not a very, I don't know if I'm spiritual, but I'd certainly ask, if I'm meant to do this, if this is what I'm meant to do, let's make it happen. And I found from that day, things just naturally, as I worked hard, things just happened. And I said, if I'm not meant to do this, make me fail early. But that never happened. It just went up. So I had a pivotal moment in 2005 when I started Baitworks, and then 10 years later I had the next car crash, and that happened. And I feel very fortunate to have had the car crash and come through it and have no lasting damage. But it certainly changed my mindset and gave me another kick in the ass 10 years on, when the company was at a level, but it sort of plateaued a little bit. And I sort of knew what I needed to do, but then it was another shot in the arm to go, right, just do it. So I got rid of my employees at the time who weren't very good for the company, went on a different trajectory, but had a different mindset in terms of family, started a family, and just because you just think, you forget, when I had the first car crash, it sets you on this journey, then 10 years in, you sort of get relaxed in your life, and but then you get another one, and I think, no, let's do this, and you just push on. So
up to the third one then.
How long we got?
Well, it'd be
When's
it'd
one
be
due?
3 years time. Yeah, 3 years time.
Yeah,
so hopefully
that year I'm
it.
staying away from you.
That would be it for car crashes. But I feel fortunate because I see friends and other people who haven't had that. Sometimes you get it in the form of an accident. You might get it in the form of someone close to you dying. You get a realisation, and sometimes you get a midlife crisis at 40, whatever. I'm fortunate to have it at key times in my life.
Yes.
Not my own doing, through fate or whatever you want to call it, and that's sort of really pushed me in directions and will force me to take action.
I think as we all get older though, Mark, we all realise what is important.
Yeah.
And we all realise what's not important.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
like you do, don't you? Like you surround yourself with positive people, good things happen. Don't want any negativity, so get that out of your life. Yeah. People that bring you down, well, they got to go. Yeah. It's all that sort of stuff, isn't it? As you get older, I think you learn to sort of get rid of all the baggage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So.
Okay. We do one more question for Mike.
Yep. That's far away. 35, please.
35. If you would have the opportunity to give a name to a carp, which name would that be? It's an easy question.
Oh my goodness.
Name a fish. You've named a few fish, haven't you, Mike?
Yeah, I've named a few actually in my time, especially with similar to here. And obviously, Mark runs a couple of lakes, and I help him run those lakes. So we've netted. Me and Mark have netted hundreds of thousands of carp in the last God knows how many years. So we've seen thousands. We're always netting fish, aren't we?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, my son. It's a bit of a weird story because my son caught one from the stock pond that we were going to put into the main lake, and sometimes these things don't always go according to plan, do they? So my son's caught one, and it was only, I don't know, about a pound, about a kilo. And Mark said, right, let's name one, because in the UK we don't really name many fish going in. Obviously, once they get to a grand stature, sometimes somebody names one.
So something can happen.
But at small weights, nobody really names them.
Which is good, I think.
Yeah, they're just carp.
I don't really like the names.
Yeah, they're just carp, I think. So my son I said, right, Declan, my son, I said, you can name that carp, because it was like a bit of a novelty. He liked the idea of that. And he named it
Nintendo.
yeah.
iPhone.
Yeah. iPhone. Yes, very good, Thomas. Like that. I don't know where he got it from. He named it the Duke.
The Duke.
Yeah, it's
good.
the Duke.
We have a Duchess in there.
Yeah, the Duke. And we had high hopes for the Duke, but sadly, the following year, it developed a swim bladder issue.
Okay.
And it sort of popped out.
It's starting to bend round.
And it started bending up like a banana. So the Duke didn't fare well, bless him, and the Duke is now well gone. So I think I would still like to name a carp the Duke.
The Duke. Okay.
Yeah. It's quite grand, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite grand.
Yeah. So we're done with the personal part of the podcast. It's all up to you, Mike, because you want to interrogate Alijn about the VBK.
Oh, I'd love to do that,
Yeah. Get the pad out, Mark.
Yeah.
We're going to start with
Get
waters.
these out.
We're going to start with fishing spots, canals, lakes. No.
I'm going to have a look at my rods because I heard some beeping.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll be back.
To go to a loop.
Okay, so we'll just have a quick comfort break a second.
Yeah.
Should we get going?
Yeah. Go on. It's all yours.
Let me just let me press record.
I'm going to
on your finger.
sit
Look
back.
at that. Is that a caterpillar or is it a bit of grass?
You need some glasses. There's a bit of
I
grass.
do need some glasses. Looks like a little cap.
So we're obviously part of the reason why we've come over to Belgium is obviously Thomas very kindly asked us to be on the VBK podcast, which we're very privileged to be here. But then we had an extra bonus when he said that Alan is going to be involved too, because one thing I know that Mark, you're passionate about it, I'm passionate about it, is about reintroduction of carp and how that kind of happens and what can we do in the UK maybe to mirror what the VBK have done, because we spoke about it on the last podcast in fact. But I think it'll be good, especially in the UK, a lot of listeners will not know what the VBK is, and it'd be great, Alan, if you don't mind, if we could sort of maybe start, Mark, do you think, with what, especially for the UK listeners, what is the VBK?
It's actually an organization who has waters where you can fish as a member, as a VBK member. We also have a magazine which comes out 4 times a year. We organize a meeting. You can compare it a bit with the old, perhaps, Carp Society.
Sure.
I think originally it was something similar.
And were they founded before the Carp Society, Alan? Or what year were they founded?
1993.
Oh, okay. So
not long after.
Not long after.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, I think we are one of the few organizations of that kind which are still active in Europe.
Sure.
Because around that time you had them everywhere. You had them in France, you had them in Holland, you had them of course in the UK.
Yeah.
But these days they all seem to disappear. It's also interesting to point out that we are a non-profit organization, so the money that comes in goes back to fishing again, or to the organization, through lease of waters, to stocking lakes, to building swims, to pay our staff, to produce a magazine, to produce books, to organize youth events for beginning carp anglers, all that sort of stuff. So that's what we basically do.
And why do you think the VBK are still going compared to other? Because look at the Carp Society in the UK, and I mean, sadly, that got very corrupt.
It did, unfortunately.
It went down a route of criminality, and people were taking money, and it got. And obviously, the Carp Society. We are products of the Carp Society. Me and Mark. We went through the Junior Carp Society fishings, as Mark already described. But sadly, I think we are missing in the UK a VBK.
Absolutely.
And hence the reason why we're so keen to maybe talk to you guys, because why is it that the VBK has still going?
It's hard to say really, but what I do know, because I've been involved for nearly 25 years now, is that we always have very passionate and talented people in the VBK who've given a lot of their time and work and even money just to make it a success. And the most important thing is that you have to realize that you do it for the benefit of the general carp angler, not for your personal benefit. That's one of the main things you have to keep in mind if you do that sort of job.
I think that's different, Mark, isn't it, to the UK? Because I think in the UK the carp fishing scene is very, if it doesn't impact me, then I necessarily might not be interested in it. And it's sort of, whereas I think, Thomas, you described it, didn't you? What did you describe the VBK as breaking down? You described it beautifully the other day when I asked you. You said sort of breaking down boundaries, or how did you describe the VBK?
I can't remember exactly.
You said something which actually sort of epitomised what we need in the UK. It's almost like it's done for the benefit of everybody.
I remember. It's important to unite. I think. That's the whole thing in the VBK.
Yeah, that was the word, unite. And I think
to change laws, we also changed some laws. Before, you were not allowed to do night fishing. We managed to change that. We managed to change to fish with a third rod in certain lakes. And of course, one of the best things we did is to get involved in leasing waters ourselves, and to create our own little waters, and to create waters that anglers are interested to fish, and to protect the stocks we have.
And how many waters do you have?
10 at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Also to build up a dam against the commercial fisheries, because it's difficult to obtain lakes, because everybody wants them either for private use or for commercial use.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not easy to find and obtain them. It involves a lot of hard work and a bit of luck as well.
Yeah. And I guess you obviously been involved for so many years, and how do you maintain that passion? What is it?
It's simple. It's the thing I love doing the most. Being busy with carp all day, no matter in what form, either stocking it or writing about it or managing other people on lakes. It's just what I love to do. It doesn't feel like work. It's feeling like doing what you're doing most of all, where your heart lies. Yeah.
I guess one thing would be good to talk about, Mark, and it's probably best that you pick this up, is about sort of fish and breeding and stocking and how all that works. But before we sort of leave that subject, what would you say the foundations of success are for an organisation like VBK, Alijn? Because if we were to take the footprint or the blueprint, of VBK and try to create that in the UK, what are the foundations of success for that? Do you think would be if we were asking for some advice? Sorry, this feels like the question where I'm spinning the dice.
Well, try to create a platform that is beneficial for a large group of anglers.
Sure. And then I suppose that's where you get unite. If you can appeal to lots.
If people feel that you're doing the right thing for fishing, they're interested and they will join you.
Yeah.
And do you stock? I know we talk about stocking fish. Are you stocking all lakes, or is it purely a focus on public And
No, we
open
only
access?
we only stake our own lake. We only stock our own lakes.
Yeah.
But we are also involved in stocking public lakes through the government, because they, when you want some stocking, you need to apply for it, and you have to make a sort of
A case.
case, yeah, where you explain why the
What
lake,
you need.
Yeah.
what you need, why you need it, and you also have to involve the hours people fished for a carp,
Yeah.
and then you have to prove that the water needs that kind of extra fish.
Oh wow, it's quite a lot of criteria.
It's quite a lot of
yeah.
work, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then they decide you get some stocking or not.
Right. Okay.
Or even on your own.
No.
lake?
That's on the public lakes.
Right. Okay.
So we're involved in that as well.
yeah, and this is obviously just in Belgium.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in.
It's just it's only in the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium, the
Sure,
Flemish
sure.
part. Yeah.
And what about obviously, because we've fished a few venues ourselves, Mark, and one thing the immediate question we ask ourselves all the time is, we fish some really old canals.
Yeah.
Those lock gates never open; they are closed. And I always think, when those fish will die in our lifetime because they're stuck in that canal.
Yeah.
They're old canals; they're not used.
And there must be what 35.
Yeah, 35
years old,
fish
40,
there,
yeah, or
10
35
fish.
years old
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. So
And I
they're
always
old
think,
fish,
like, will they just disappear? Is anyone putting any fish in?
Oh yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they will.
but that'd be unofficial, I'm guessing.
Both.
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And then, and from a VBK perspective, then Mark, like probably your best. It'd be nice to talk about how the reintroduction of fish happened. What you do you grow them? What strains and stuff? Because that's something we're really passionate
Yeah,
about.
and was that an early decision from you guys to reintroduce fish?
It was a decision because we had at a certain point. On public lakes, it works like this: the fish breeder who has the cheapest carp often wins the
bid.
the bid,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he can deliver the carp. Yeah.
Ah.
But we had so many troubles with diseases at a certain point.
Yeah.
We got fed of it, and we decided to start our own
Public stocking as well. Yeah.
our own way of breeding carp and our own way of putting them out. Also because they were a fishery breeder would always deliver his fish at the moment when it's the most benefit for him, which means either November, December, or early in spring.
Yeah.
But that's not the best part to put them out.
Right.
We discovered that the best part actually is in summer.
Okay.
But a fish breeder will never deliver you fish because they're at their lowest weight,
Yes.
so he can gain any money.
Yeah. And why summer? What?
Because they're at their strongest.
Their immune system.
Their immune system is powerful.
Yeah.
And when they're going to a very long, cold winter, they often they don't get any food, they don't eat, so they always got weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
And they're putting them out often in a period around February, March, when there's no natural food in the lake.
Yeah.
Their system is not active. They're not going to search for food because they can.
They're slowing down.
Yeah. And they're at their fables at that time. And when that's also one of the reasons why you get so many mortalities.
Yeah. That's really interesting because we still have that ethos in the UK, Mark.
Yeah, the fish
Yes.
farmers will stock fish through the winter period largely because it's the transportation of them.
As well,
They
yeah.
want them because they don't move, they don't
They're a
hurt
bit
themselves,
dormant,
They're dormant.
Yeah.
Everything's a bit suppressed and it's easy with the O2 and oxygen levels in the water.
Yeah, I
much,
can
much
understand
higher.
that, but
you get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But it's the most important thing is as soon as they're netted from the lake where they're coming from, you have to bring them to the other lake
Straight away.
Yeah.
straight away. The longer they're stocked in small containers,
Yeah.
the worse it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they get more stressed.
They
and
get more
the mucus
stressed.
comes off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you do that in summer, we never had any problems. The mortality of the fish we stocked in summer is virtually zero.
Wow.
And when we stock them in later in the year, or especially early in the year, you lose very much.
When the water,
Yeah. I guess that it's a shock to the system, isn't it? You know, you've been
Yes.
fed pellet all your life. It's like, feed me pellet. And then into a lake, it's like, what have I got to do?
And there's no natural food.
No natural food.
Not a lot of natural food in the winter months.
And another thing is they don't move around that often in winter time.
Yeah.
So they're a very easy prey to come around and
Yeah.
to pike and to. They don't know the environment.
That's right.
If you put them out in summer, they got lots of time to to discover everything.
Yes. Loads of food. Yeah.
Yeah, and once winter are coming, they're
They
good.
know.
They know what to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. So a lot of times it's the cormorants that don't necessarily eat the fish,
Yeah, but
or
they damage
they
them.
rag them,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
pierce them,
Yeah.
and then you get a secondary infection, and then they die. Same with the pike. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just a question, sorry, Mark.
Go on.
So, what style of carp would you describe as the tapestry of Belgium? And are you trying to preserve or trying to grow certain styles of carp, Alijn, now? I mean, when I think of Belgium, years ago, I think of long canal commons, maybe, and obviously the Kempish canal mirrors.
Yes.
You know, those big, deep-bodied fish. Are you trying to grow your own to a certain look or a certain style, or more mirrors, more commons, long, scaly? What is your preference?
Crossbreeding, actually, because they're stronger. The more you cross, the stronger they are.
Cross figure. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have your brood stock that have come from a special place, or I don't know how you?
A bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
We introduced a lot of falcon swabbers in recent years, but also a lot of fish from Czechia.
Yeah.
And we have crosses between those as well.
And what do they look like? And what sort of fish?
Big and scaly.
Okay.
Oof, nice.
Best of
So
both
big-
worlds.
Big combo.
big
yeah,
scale-
good
big
combination.
scale.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what's in Belgium? The climate I always associate is fairly similar to the UK, right? Maybe a little bit warmer in
A
certain
little bit
places.
warm, yeah.
I mean,
Less rain.
what's your kind of growth rates here in Belgium of your stock fish?
It depends on the lake we are putting them in and on how many bait that goes in the lake.
Of course.
We got in several of our lakes now. We give them some extra
Feed.
feed,
Yeah.
especially maize and tarwe,
Wheat.
corn and wheat,
Corn and wheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
to go through the winter. And what we discovered is that they're easier to catch now all year round.
Yeah.
They're more active and
Good condition as well.
very good condition in spring.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Their immune system then
Yeah.
they go into the spring.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think
A much bigger reef.
are they
Oh,
really?
incredible.
And you're soaking the wheat and cooking them.
Soaking and cooking,
Soaking
absolutely.
and cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both.
both.
Yeah.
I heard some fish farmers in Europe, what I was reading, that they put in the tiny smashed maize, flaked maize,
Flakes,
kibbled or like tiny
Yeah.
little pieces, and they don't boil, they just soak with water and then
Yeah.
chop it in.
Yeah, possible. We don't use that ourselves, but I've heard of that
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
But I think that boiling the maize, with genetized, it's more available for the fish in terms
Yes.
of the protein.
Digestation.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's a good product. So is there such a thing as the Belgium old original Belgium strain? Are they going to die out?
To be honest with you, I don't think that it ever existed.
Okay.
And maybe what I'm going to say now is a bit of a shocking, but from what I've learned about it, it's similar with some of the English strain, like the Lenny fish. They also came from
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
From
Absolutely.
everywhere.
Of course.
Absolutely.
came
Yeah.
from everywhere.
Yeah, Donald Leaney is just a name, but he was a fish dealer, and he was bringing in fish from other dealers in Europe who were bringing fish from other dealers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've found out, because I've talked a lot with fish farmers, that even in the 80s, so more than 40 years back, they already bought fish from Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So the fish we thought we had at that time, the Belgian fish, came actually from Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
I think when you trace it back, particularly after the Second World War, then there's fish going everywhere.
Yeah, and that's originally also where most of the carp came from.
Yeah.
They came from that area.
The table,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. But people have a blinkered view, don't they, of what
It's
strains.
rose
and what
tinted
that-
glasses, isn't
No,
it?
it is. No,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. So we talked before. you're bringing your own fish on as well. You're growing your own fish as well,
Yes,
which
yes.
is
Well, a lot of people are doing that here. I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Okay. And they're going into your VBK waters, but I noticed they're going elsewhere as well. They're going into
Elsewhere as well, in some syndicates as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you be able to guess how many fish that have gone out over the period of time through VBK? Is it into the thousand? Must be.
Must be, yeah.
Wow, and there's documentation. What I loved about it, I translate the newsletter, and I read through, and you see fish. Oh, this fish was caught from here, and then you see the small picture of the fish, and then a bigger fish, like there. Yeah, that's amazing. So what a legacy that is for anyone.
It's one of the things I love doing. Giving more satisfaction, and I don't have to catch it myself, but just following it up, Other people seeing the fish that you.
I'm the same. I run waters where I live, and I've grown fish from eggs and watched. I've got pictures in my hands, and then they've grown now to over 35, 15, 16 kilos. It's still young fish, but I get more excited, and I'm stocking fish every single year. I get more excited about someone catching one that big than that big, because it's one I've got on my records, and I go, yes, there it is, there it is.
Is that big? Look at that, look at that,
Yeah, it's amazing. No, that's.
But we also have a project, we have a project with the mirrors. All the mirrors, they stock in certain canals and rivers and lakes. You can photograph them and send them to the VBK. And then they can see how they grow and all those things, and how they go on.
Yeah, that's it. So when
and you can win a prize, I think, or it used to be like that. If you have the most mirrors that are already in the project, then you could win something.
Good.
But I don't know if that's wrong.
More important than the weight. It's the length.
The length of it. Yeah.
And you see some amazing things in some fish.
Yeah.
Before, when I was much younger, we were taught that carp stopped at a certain age with growing.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
They do until the last day they live.
Yeah.
I have several examples of fish who has been at the same length for a decade, and then all of a sudden they found a new extra source of food, and they start growing again.
Yes. Yeah. I have similar conversations with Simon Scott, who runs VS Fisheries in the UK, who obviously stocks loads of fish, and I talked to him about the carp usually expecting in their first sort of 10, 12, 13 years where they do the most growing, and that's correct, but then they get a second birth, almost second wind going on, and we've
even at very old age.
Even at old age, they may coincide with a different food source, but they must get a bit longer. But in the UK we don't measure the length.
We do.
I know in Europe, and that's something that
we should, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I started taking the tape measure, but it's not common practice to do that in the UK. But that'll give you some really interesting information.
It is, because sometimes you think, the fish has been out last year, so maybe in spring just before spawn it was, say, something 15 kilo. It comes out a year later, it's only 13 kilo in summer. But if you look at the length, it's grown 5 or 6 centimeters.
It's 5 or 6 centimeters would be,
or maybe more. Yeah. But when it was caught, it was still full. Yeah. That's why it weighs more.
Yeah.
And it was in summer.
Yeah.
And if you examine at the same time of the year, you will see it's actually 3 or 4 kilos bigger.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. We don't do that, do we? We don't do the length.
Nobody. It's really important.
Nobody.
It's really important.
For that sort of thing, it's very important. Yeah.
And so, do you think the tide has shifted then, Alijn, in terms of what the Flemish anglers want? Do they want? Is there a big preference for scaly carp? Because we go through different phases in the UK. The fish farmers will be 3 or 4 years, loads of scaly carp, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, we've had enough of scaly carp.
Well, it's a turning point now.
Yeah.
We didn't have any up till 10 years ago. We all have,
plain Italian style.
Yeah, and it's also one of the things that I pushed through fish farmers. Please, there's demand for those sort of fish.
Yeah.
So they started to breed with those, and now we have them everywhere. We have plenty of them, and now we're in a phase that everybody starts we want to
Or leather.
Yeah.
have ladders or especially
Go back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you-
cycles.
it goes in cycles. Yeah,
Goes in
that's
cycles.
right.
As a personal preference, we're looking for fish, and they're very difficult to find. So that's just why we come over to Europe to fish for them. You know, that deep body, very like withered finned fish. You know, fish that
And the
are
Ashkelunda
Like,
fish.
you asked me this week, and as a coincidence, I haven't. I should have sent it to you, but just only a few hours after you
caught one.
I caught one.
Oh,
I'll show you.
yeah.
That's probably that what you are after.
Yes,
Yeah.
it probably
Just
is.
don't see them, do we?
No, and-
But we sort of was brought up on that because certainly the Yately
Those
fish.
ones?
And
Yes,
so,
yes, look at that.
yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, that's exactly the carp. Look at that.
Oh.
Oh yeah, the rounded tail. We are a bit strange in the. Maybe we're a bit strange. We like tails to be round.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like,
Like
we see a lot of carp
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
pointy tails.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And that I don't know. It looks like a goldfish.
They're usually from Eastern Europe. those
Or the
pointy
river.
tails. Or the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we like our tails to be rounded.
Yeah.
Personally, don't we?
Personally, yeah.
A nice deep-bodied fish, but that one you just showed us there.
It's lovely,
Yeah, perfect. And another thing which we're passionate about, and I think fish farmers over the years has it been bred out, Mark? But a carp in a natural environment should have a mouth that's like this.
Overspun.
I think over time genetics have sort of brought them up a little bit like that. And so you see a lot of carp that you think
Yeah. In
that
the UK
mouth
we
doesn't.
do. In the UK we do, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're bottom feeders at the end of the day, so I think, I don't know, but yeah, that's the sort of carp we love. And we also love those German fish where, there's very small finned,
Yeah, the northern German.
what are they called, the Highland,
Holsten, is it Holsten carp? That
Yeah.
that Holsten area where
Yeah.
Oldslager see those
Yeah.
carp there, which beautiful, beautiful.
You know how old that fish is?
that
I
one,
just showed you.
No.
Go on. 10 years.
We stocked it in 2015. Was a big risk because it was too small actually. It's 1.1 kilo. I'll show you the picture.
Yeah.
And now it was 19.1.
Wow. And do you think, Alan, do you think that's down to genetics, or do you think that's down to environment?
A bit of everything.
Do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit of everything.
So when you've got genetics like that and you put it in the right environment,
right environment.
you know,
But they also they have to, you have to feed them a bit extra as well. They have to a lot of. The more you feed them, the bigger they get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually what it is.
You guys,
I dig up that picture for you.
yeah, please do.
are you feeding pellet or is it all mainly maize and
Maize and boilies.
maize and boilers?
Boilies and maize.
Yeah. Wow, that's what a great success story. And what do you see as the future of the VBK? What would you like the VBK to achieve, Alan, in the future? If you had a 10-year plan, obviously what you've got. I'm assuming your fish farming now for the VBK is well established. You've got lots of people doing it. The carp are coming through. You're stocking your waters. You've got happy anglers. You've got fish that are growing well. It's a self-sustaining model, right? Because
Just hope to continue in the same way we're doing it today, but I'm a bit afraid because there it is.
Oh look, yeah. Oh wow.
So for the podcast benefit, especially to the listeners, Alan has shown us tiny carp.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Previously to that, he showed us a
Yes,
huge
yeah,
carp. So
Looks like the old
Oh, wow.
Looks like the Northern's.
yeah, such a lot. It doesn't. That's crazy. I love that. That's a success story, right? In
7 years.
Yeah,
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah.
that is incredible growth rate.
To come back to your question, I'm afraid that we might. I hope not, but we might lose a lot of water we have today for fishing.
What, public water? Or
All sort of water, even
Your leases.
yeah, the leases as well, because there's more and more need for water.
Yeah.
With the climate change we have, we see it now during summer. Farmers don't have enough water to
farm,
to spray the land,
Yeah.
so the water will be more expensive in years to come. And I'm afraid we might lose that battle.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult. Us as anglers, especially in the UK, Mark, we're a tiny
Yes,
voice.
yes.
You know, at government level,
Yeah.
or
No one
high
represents
level.
us. No one
Yeah,
really
we've got the
represents
Angling
us.
Trust
Yeah.
now, which is
Not only
really-
voice, but also the money involved.
yeah, it's the money, isn't it? We represent nothing.
The prices for a lake are 5-6 times more than 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's going up.
It's going up all the time.
Right, yeah. And what would be like an average? So if you're a VBK member, you can fish the VBK waters. You book on. Is that right? Is that?
No, it depends on the lake. Most of the lakes, as soon as you are a VBK member, you can fish most of our lakes if you buy an extra license for that water.
Oh, okay, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, just for our benefit, for if you're trying to think about replication of model here in the UK, Lieven, you've got a lake team of like what do you call it, bailiff, but ambassador, what?
Stewards.
Stewards. That's right. Yeah. So the VBK will appoint a team of stewards, and your job is to sort of police those lakes.
Yeah.
And to look after them. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that's all free time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just total free time.
Yeah.
You are. And what do you do? Do you just
Cleaning up, control the fishes.
Yeah.
Chalking.
Chalking. Yeah. You do the chalking.
Yeah.
Helping with the stocking.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's an incredible thing because that's free time. Lots of
Especially
people get involved. Yeah. And
It's a whole led by the government actually.
Is it?
They're doing the job of the government in a lot of places. It's policing the lakes actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, it's okay, because it's impossible for the police to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a great initiative, I think. They have also an online training program for the stewards. No, I don't know if you took that, but
No.
No, that's
another
not-
thing.
That's from something that comes from Sportvisserij Vlaanderen.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, great.
okay, which is the umbrella organization.
Yeah. And what would you say the most successful part of the VBK is? Is it your waters? Is it the opportunity to the books, to educate, or would you say that the most successful part now is, I guess, protecting carp fishing in Belgium with the fish that you're stocking? I mean, is that?
Yeah, in the magazine in the magazine you can find everything that happened in the months before and what has been caught in our waters. You can also find that on the website, of course, but more in detail in the magazines. And the waters, of course, and our meeting, which is very popular.
Do you have like a regional meeting, Alijn?
We also have regional ones, but they are very small.
Sure.
But we have a national meeting, which is incredibly popular.
Is it and
Yes.
is it open to anybody or just
It's-
VBK members?
It's VBK members only, but you can if you for €10 anyone can enter. If you're not a member and you want to come, you pay
Sure.
€10 and you
And it's
can.
like a conference.
Yes.
That's very much like the old Carp
It
Fishing
is, yeah.
conference.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
how much is it to join the VBK? Is it
€35.
But
So-
you get 15 back from your social security.
Yeah.
okay?
Do you?
So
So
it's
it's only
actually
20 euros. yeah.
So I mean,
For that you have 4 magazines,
Yeah.
and you have discount in shops as well.
Wow.
A lot of shops are giving discount to VBK members.
Yeah.
It's a collab we have,
Yeah.
and you are able to fish some excellent waters.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and can UK anglers join the VBK and fish the VBK waters, or is that not allowed? Oh, you can, yeah. So it's not exclusive to
No.
to just
we're
Flemish.
open. No, we're open to everybody.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's a big part of the VBK, because you asked the question what's the strongest point of the VBK.
Yeah.
It's they're really open to everything. Like, I wanted to make the podcast, it was okay. Just make something. Let us.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
And we
The same
want-
thing with the youth.
Yeah.
With Matthias. He wanted to do something for the youth. Okay, go ahead, do something for the youth.
And who decides it? Have you got a
Mostly Alijn.
Oh, okay.
Well, we have
A committee.
a committee. Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a very powerful thing. Like
is,
what
yeah,
you've
yeah.
created here is a massive success story.
And we try to keep the price to fish as low as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah.
Also, they promote the lead-free alternatives for the moment.
Yeah.
You had the action with the unhooking mats last year, very
Yeah.
cheap, very qualitative unhooking mats for a small price, things like that. Also, Geo was also involved in that. And it's also a big network. Like Geo is also responsible, I think, for the VBK in this
In
region.
this area, yeah.
Like a
so-
regional manager.
Yeah. So everybody's connected some way or another.
Well, it's such a shame because the Carp Society, back when we had that structure, we had regional. I was a regional organizer for the West Country,
Yeah.
and we had all the regions broken up, and we were gathering momentum,
The opportunity was
opportunity
massive.
to achieve good
Yeah.
things.
Because there was lots of money coming in from membership, wasn't there? It was very strong.
But it's such a
Very
shame that we haven't gone like this. We've gone like this and become introverted,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
haven't we? And
Yeah.
just protecting what we know.
Yeah.
Like, this is my water, stay away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to tell you what I catch because I'm,
That's the problem now with syndicates. They're just all their own little,
Yeah.
worlds, aren't they? And they're
Yeah.
only worried about what goes on inside their
Yeah.
fences or their own little water, and not worried about what's down the road. And that's the crying shame about it. And that's where having something like the VBK, in my opinion, would break down those barriers, but also safeguard fish coming through at ground roots level, and maybe into the particularly the public venues. That's massive.
I think it gives a great opportunity to educate,
yeah,
doesn't it?
everything.
Like, what
Yeah.
we've spoken about
Yeah,
here
yeah.
is if people perceive as they do the VBK as a voice of
Yeah.
authority,
Yes.
and we can educate and help,
Yeah.
but we can also inspire. We can also develop your technical. We can also help you understand nature, stocking and fish growth, fish care. It seems to touch so many areas, yet that opportunity, as you said, with the Carp side was there,
Was there? Yeah.
and we haven't quite cracked it.
No,
have we?
no, and like government level as well. That's so important. Having a unified voice,
Yeah.
representing anglers.
Yeah,
carp
the Angling
anglers
Trust have done a great job of that.
They have
in the
it,
UK now.
especially,
In the last
yeah.
couple of years, we've got an organisation called the Angling Trust. You probably
Yeah.
would have seen a big push.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So they've re-established themselves with Jamie,
Yeah.
Jamie Cook as the chairman, and they've sort of re-established themselves and done a fantastic job at going in at government level. So maybe there's an opportunity to join forces with the Angling Trust,
Yeah.
because we need those people at government level to then sort of achieve good things.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, that,
Like with the stewards, if you go to a public lake, which is often a place where youth hangs around, parties, littering, all those things, and you go there and you tell them, we can fix this. We have the stewards, and they will take care of it. And we have seen change to these lakes, like the Schorre in Antwerp, where Tomorrowland is, like the Bantille Creek where I fish. They're all clean places now in no time, just because we
Because of
have
the
these
stewards.
volunteers
Yeah.
who walk around, who are not afraid to talk to people and show them and tell them what they have to do and what they're obligated to do,
Yeah.
all those things. And that's coin you can put in negotiations.
yeah. It's a,
They're happy. They're working together with nature organizations.
Yeah.
Fishermen working with nature organizations,
Yeah.
because they know their lakes will flourish and they will be clean and the litter will be gone, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the success of the VBK Denmark, I don't know what you think, is very much also down to the culture of Belgium.
Yeah,
The culture feels together.
yeah.
Together we can achieve so much. As somebody who is an island, one person, that standoff, like, what am I going to get from it?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
am I
that's
going to
right.
benefit?
Yeah, true.
What do I get in return? When you got that mindset, you achieve nothing.
No, that's right.
Well,
You just
we had this podcast with Kurt van Kollenberg, which is a big fisherman, but he's also a cage fighter, and he drives the motorcycle and all.
Wow.
And he had a question with the guys: what does the VBK mean to you? And he said, well, it means a lot to me, because of them I can fish at night. So
Yeah,
that's a big thing. They've achieved that for all fishermen in Belgium, that they can fish at night. So everybody is somewhere grateful to the VBK, because that's, I know, I don't know where it goes, but with the towpaths, we can't drive on the towpaths with the car. It's also a bit Hengelsport Vlaanderen, which is on. They want to change it now so we can drive on the towpaths
Yes,
and
sure,
put
sure.
our car where we fish.
yeah,
Things like that.
yeah.
Everybody should be grateful for things
Yes.
like that.
yeah, and that's right. Yeah, you're dead right. Like that's such a great achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The night fishing is, Yeah, there's lots of stories of people fishing at night with police and razzias and all those things. Eh?
Oh, really?
In the past, yeah.
Myself as a young kid.
Well, you weren't allowed to night fish.
No.
When did that change, Alijn? What year?
That's early 2000 it was. Yeah, early 2000.
Oh, so not that long ago.
It's not that long ago.
No. One of the last laws that's just changed, I think a few years now, that you can't take any carp from the water.
Yeah.
Previously there was a size, and if they were bigger than that size you could take them.
What,
But
to
no,
eat?
to do anything with it.
To anything
Yeah.
you liked with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Before you could, every fish you caught, you could do with it whatever you wanted.
Really?
It's still the case
It's
with
also
the other
something we
fish.
changed now.
That is just,
So-
yeah.
Some people are still doing it, but it's no longer legal to do so. So you can be
Yeah.
fined if
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
That's a
So that
it's a
would
big
have opened
difference.
fish theft
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah. Blimey, that is different, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, have you got anything else you want to touch on in terms of fish?
No,
carp
it's really, it's just, yeah, it's fascinating to hear how it was set up, but also the fish that's gone out, and it goes into the hundreds, or if not thousands of fish that are being sort of documented everywhere. And I was interested just to know the story of how that came about, and how the public venues operate as well, because I know the public venues are stocked, but you made a great point, Alijn, when you said about it goes to typically the lowest tender, the lowest person who's going to put the lowest price.
That's
in,
typical
because
government,
It's
isn't
typical
it? Save the
government.
money,
Yeah. So you're not getting good
They're
quality
actually
fish.
they're obliged to do so by law.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess, would you mind if I just finished off with, obviously it's a rare opportunity for us to get together like this. It's so rare, I guess. Just to ask, Alijn, what would where do you see your carp fishing in the next 10 years? What do you want to achieve? What do carp fishing want to give you?
just enjoying myself like I do today. I hope I can do this as long as possible, as long as my body carries me to do so.
Yeah.
Carries me to do so. So as long as I'm stay fit, I'm going to keep fishing.
Fantastic.
There's still fish to catch. And yet you haven't caught them all just yet.
No.
Nearly caught
You
them.
nearly caught them all.
Plenty of fish.
Yeah.
Always new ones turning
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
God
yeah.
for the new ones.
Yeah.
And for Lieven and Thomas, I mean, what do you want to achieve from your podcast? It'd be something, because hopefully, this is going to hit a UK audience, and it may be. I'm sure it will inspire people to come and, just come and understand Belgium a bit better, and hopefully inspire them to see what you guys have achieved. And if we can have a little bit of that, then maybe we will bring the success of something similar to the VBK to the UK. I mean, have you got your own personal goals of what you want to?
Well, I hope they can stand my accent in the UK. That's
No, it's good English, really good English.
Yeah. I hope it's not too Russian sounding, something like that. Well, with the podcast, I started the podcast because of you guys, because I was really inspired by how you did it. But I soon realized that you can't replace the friendship you have. You can't do that artificially.
Well, do you know what?
Yeah.
We've done it today. I've never met you. I've never met Alijn, and we're sitting down
Yes.
in a circle, talking as if we've known each other for years and years and years. So I don't know. I think you can.
Yeah.
If you got a
And-
common ground,
Yeah.
Common ground,
carp is
yeah.
enough.
Yes,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
but you notice the friendship between the two in the podcast, during the podcast. Yeah, it's something different, I think.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I really like to make to document the history of Belgian carp fishing.
Yes.
Yes, I had
like
Alijn,
this.
I had Patrick Bones, who is the founder of the VBK. I had Frans Wiemas, who is also a founder, I think, of the VBK, who is now the chairman of Hengelsport Vlaanderen.
Sure.
I had Gio. I had already a lot of famous Belgian carp anglers. There's still some missing. I really want Phil Cottonier, but it's a hard person to get. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil
Yeah.
Cottonier,
Yeah. Yeah. Very famous. Very.
one of the best anglers I ever met.
Really.
Yeah.
Exceptional.
Is he still doing it out there?
He's a bit on last couple of years. He hasn't done a lot of fishing.
Sure.
Before he fished five days out of 7
Wow.
for years, for decades.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's amazing that even we get inspired by Flemish Belgian anglers, don't we?
Yeah.
Like Alijn and Leon. Is it Leon?
Leon Hogendijk.
Hogendijk.
No,
Yes,
that's
Dutch.
it's
Yes,
Dutch.
Dutch.
But those
Dutch.
sort of European anglers are very inspiring, aren't they?
Yeah.
And we've always looked at, especially us as young
the
kids.
pioneering big open bass.
like, we don't have any of those big inland seas like the Deux or Orient, or at home we haven't got them. So to see
but we
those
don't
shots
have
with those,
them.
with those rocks,
We have the canals,
yeah.
which are big. Yeah.
But still, the Kempish and the Albert and those canals.
We don't have those type of canals.
No, but
don't have them.
we're inspired. We want to catch some of those carp, Mike, don't we?
Yeah.
And we're going to try and we've got our maps now. we want to explore, and it's just, I suppose it's a big thank you for you guys, because you get so many people travelling to Belgium now, because I think it offers something different.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
What is it? Old carp.
Yeah,
There's old and new, and everything in between.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a lot of new fish coming through now, haven't you? But we particularly like the older looking carp, and as we've sort of touched on, what is that strain? Probably we don't know. But we like the look of them. And we sort of found some of those in some of the canals that we were fishing, and that's good enough for us, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a big thank you.
Okay, the thank you is from us to you. I think, yeah. But I was also surprised with Jim Shelley told about the same story about Belgium, and it also opened a bit our eyes, I think, because we have a tendency to bring ourselves down, I think, in Flanders and in Belgium. And after Jim Shelley telling about the woman who he talked to on the towpath, and I was like, maybe we're not so bad, and maybe our country isn't that ugly and still interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think it's absolutely incredible. Like me and Mark have fished for over 30 years each, and I think we have found a new enthusiasm for our fishing coming over to Belgium, because it just, for us, it feels undocumented. It probably isn't for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And every time we wet a line, when that buzzer goes beep, we don't know what we're going to catch. Yeah. Whereas in the UK, we probably know.
We know exactly what's in the lens.
We know exactly what's there, what it's going to catch, probably how big it was last time it was caught.
But it's coming here as well.
But that mystery, and especially the canals.
Yeah, and it is just going for seeing all the villages, and being it's just
the culture.
The culture's totally different to what we're used to, but the exploring as well, isn't it, Mike? We've walked a hell of a lot. All the time we come to Belgium, we walk a lot by looking at lakes, and we walked and we found some fish, and we've caught a couple the last couple of nights, which has been great, and that's it. We're probably going to go home, probably catching a couple of carp, and that's it.
But we loved it.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you what's really interesting.
You should get a bike.
Oh, we've got one.
We've got one bike between us.
We need a tandem.
One bike, yeah.
What's really interesting, Thomas, actually, Mark, and I don't know if you've noticed it, is that the etiquette of a carp angler in Belgium is very different.
Yeah.
So
the respect.
A couple of weeks ago, we set up on a canal, and when we got there was a Flemish angler already fishing, and he said, "You've travelled all the way from England to fish here?" And I said, "Yeah." He said straight away, he said, "Am I in your baited spot?"
Yeah.
So he was more concerned whether
he was 100 yards away.
Whether I'd put bait in, and whether he was fishing in my spot.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm from England. Like, no, you're not in my spot. So I think, I don't know, there's a culture there, like people, they respect each other's air. Like if you're putting bait in, like that's like respected. Maybe.
But it's the VBK members the most.
Not in the UK.
Yeah.
Somebody's catching.
I'm sure it's the same.
He's gone home.
But they're not all like that.
Yeah. But do you know what? That's refreshing.
It is, and all the anglers that we've met over here, be them Dutch, French, Belgium, they're all very, very nice, aren't they?
Yeah. It's been a great place.
And for us, for a lot of the local guys who fish the Belgian waters, it's not a mystery to them, but to us it is, and that's trying to capture that is lovely.
It's a mystery to us as well, but not all the time, everywhere. But canals, it's a mystery. Some of the lakes are still a mystery as well.
Yeah. And I guess it's
like the Schudde in Tomorrowland. It's full of secrets.
That means nothing to me, but I'll check it out on the map.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just finish by saying thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Welcome. It was a pleasure to meet you guys.
It's been a real pleasure, and thank you very much for having us.
Okay.
Yeah.
End of the podcast.
Yes.